Hello and welcome to my weekly video blog, and today on A.Vogel Talks Menopause I'm going to be talking about the first signs and symptoms of the perimenopause. Now, I know there's a lot of you ladies out there who are well through the perimenopause. You may be in the menopause or postmenopausal, and you know exactly where you are in the grand scheme of things. But a lot of women are really confused, and they do contact me because they don't know if they're starting the menopause, they don't know if their symptoms are to do with the perimenopause, if they're the right age, or what on earth is going on. So today I thought I would go right back to the basics. So what is the perimenopause? Well, this is the phase before the menopause when your hormones start to subtly change, and these changes can start to cause certain menopause-like symptoms. Now, this is a transition time, if you like. You can find that you get no particular problems at all. For other women, they tend to get a huge array of symptoms and they really don't know what to do about them. The average age for this is 45 to 55. Now, it's just an average amount because nobody can know for sure, because we're all very, very individual. So that's the average age, but we do know that quite a large number of women will start the perimenopause in their early 40s, even some in their late 30s. And we also know there's a group of women who probably won't start the perimenopause until they're well into their mid 50s or even later at all. So you can see it's already quite a confusing time as to what on earth is going on. So what are the symptoms that you are likely to find? The first one is that your periods are starting to change in some way. Now, there's several ways that this can go. Some women find that their periods start to get closer together, or they get heavier, or they get longer. For other women, it's the complete opposite. They find that their periods start to miss, or they get further apart, or they get lighter, or they get shorter. And there's a small number of women who find that suddenly their periods just stop and they don't come back. So that's the first sign, is that your periods can start to change. Now, just be aware that you can get a range of menopause symptoms in the perimenopause without your periods changing at all. So you may find that your periods are exactly the same, they come at the same time, they're completely regular, there's no change with them at all, but you may start to see other changes going on. The major symptoms would be things like anxiety, mood swings, irritability, especially before a period. You might find that that week before a period, your symptoms become exaggerated. And we do know that a lot of women find that if they've already had PMS regularly, they find that the PMS tends to get worse as well at this particular time. We know that hot flushes and night sweats can start at this time, well before your periods actually stop. We know as well that sleep problems can start and fatigue can set in. And all that's happening here is that your hormones are starting to change very subtly, not enough to change your periods, but just enough to start giving or triggering all these other symptoms. The other symptom that can very often occur, which can be very misleading, and a lot of people mistake it for aging, and that's joint aches and pains. And this is a very, very common one, and we were really surprised when we discovered that a lot of women, as they approach the menopause, start to get the joint aches and pains. You've also got things like vaginal dryness and low libido, that whole kind of low estrogen package too. Now, the difference between this and the menopause itself is that the menopause is where your periods stop for good. Now, the menopause is really just one moment in time when your periods have stopped for good. The problem is that you don't know your periods have stopped for good until you've gone the 2 full years without a period. The problem in this situation is that a lot of women can miss a period for 3 or 4 months. They think, oh, that's it, I'm in the menopause, and their periods either restart again or they come back and then they miss again and then the periods come back again. there are a number of women who will go maybe 18 months or more and suddenly find that their period's coming back. So the actual menopause is just the point where retrospectively you suddenly realise my periods have stopped for good, and that's it. But generally we tend to class the menopause at the point where your periods start to stop, and that then goes forwards, and then after the 2 years without a period, you're then considered post-menopausal, and basically that's it. Now, how can you find out if you are in the perimenopause or if something else is going on? It's very difficult to tell, as I explained before, because everything is about averages. Tests at this particular point, especially if you're getting periods of some kind, can be very inaccurate because they depend on your hormone level on the day. So if your hormones are quite high when you get the test done, even though they might dip 2 or 3 days later and cause certain menopause symptoms, the test will come back saying that you're not in the menopause, and that can then confuse you even further. So there's 5 questions that you can ask yourself, and that might give you a little bit of a better idea. First of all, are you in the average age group, 45 to 55? Also, maybe find out at what age your mum, your grandmother, your aunties or your older sisters started the menopause, because very often it will happen at roughly the same age for close female relatives. Are your periods definitely changing? Has there been a change in length and time scale, and are they getting lighter or are they getting heavier? Are you getting other symptoms of the menopause as well that I just talked about earlier? Or is there anything else that could be causing these symptoms? And I know I talk about it quite a lot, but it is quite important. We know that low thyroid function, low vitamin D, low iron and low B12, between them can all cause a range of symptoms that look very much like the menopause. And sometimes it's very difficult to tell which is which, or to distinguish them apart. So if you find that you've got maybe 4 out of the 5 questions, then it's more than likely that you are approaching the menopause. One important thing here, if you do find that you're getting really confused, if you're worried about anything at all, especially if your periods are starting to get really heavy, then go and check with your doctor. They might not be able to tell you whether you're in the perimenopause, but they may be able to check and make sure that nothing else underlying is causing these symptoms. So I hope that's given you a little bit more insight. Sometimes it's really good just to go back to the basics, because we tend to forget these things as we go along the way. If any of you have any other symptoms that you might think could be perimenopausal, please do get in touch. And until next week, have a good week, and I'll see you soon.